Welcome back to the Deep Dive, the place where we turn complex data and documentation like, the vast ISO 19650 framework into clear, actionable knowledge. If you're a project manager or part of a commercial team, you know that digital delivery can feel a bit overwhelming. Today, we are focusing on arguably the single most important document for guaranteeing long-term asset value, the Asset Information Requirements, or AR. Get this wrong, and your digital handover is basically worthless. But if you get it right, you unlock decades of operational efficiency. Our mission today is clear: to give you a definitive guide to the AR, focusing on how precise requirements create a usable asset information model, the AA. Okay, let's unpack this. We're talking about turning those big strategic goals of an asset owner into specific, measurable, usable data fields.
That's the core challenge, isn't it? The AIR is really the pivotal specification. It meticulously defines the information needed managerially, commercially, and technically to operate and maintain a built asset efficiently. For those advising the appointing party, mastering this is the difference between just, ticking a box for compliance and delivering predictable, massive operational value. Today, we're going to break it down into 3 digestible concepts. First, its definition and its crucial place in the ISO 19650 hierarchy. Second, the direct cause and effect relationship between your AR and the final quality of the asset information model. And then finally, we'll run through a comprehensive checklist of what needs to be in there.
Okay, let's start at the top of that information chain. We often talk about the hierarchy, but what specifically defines the AR's purpose? Why can't we just skip straight to telling contractors what data to deliver?
You can't skip it because the AR provides the essential context. It's the detailed spec that sets out all the managerial, commercial, and technical aspects for producing asset information. And all of that is required to meet the organization's strategic objectives. It's the tactical blueprint that comes directly from that high-level strategic vision. What's fascinating here is where the AR sits in that whole ISO 19650 structure. Everything starts with the Organizational Information Requirements, the OIR.
Right.
These are the high-level overarching goals of the client or owner, things like reduce energy consumption by 15% or ensure immediate regulatory compliance.
So the OIR is the why we need information at that strategic whole business level. That's the big picture.
Precisely. And the AR is the mechanism that translates that strategic why into asset-specific data. So if the OIR asks, how can we optimize our maintenance contracts? The AR specifies we need manufacturer details, warranty dates, and maintenance frequency for every single pump and fan motor in this building. It distills those broad OIR mandates into granular asset-level requirements.
That distinction is crucial, especially for the supply chain. So if the ARR is what we need, does it then flow downstream to tell the delivery teams how to deliver it through the exchange information requirements, the EIR?
In many ways, yes. The AIR feeds directly into the EIR, which is essentially the contractual document you use to procure services from your design and construction teams.
So the EIR is what makes it binding.
Exactly. It's the mechanism that ensures every party in the supply chain knows exactly what structured data they need to generate and hand over. It creates that essential bridge, making sure the strategic OIR results in practical, verified information in the AIM. Every piece of data has to trace back to a business purpose defined in the AIR.
Which brings us to our second critical area, that direct cause and effect relationship between the ARR and the quality of the final asset information model, the A. We've all heard the horror stories.
Yeah.
Projects handing over terabytes of data that facilities management just can't use.
That failure state, which we see all too often, is the direct result of a vague, poorly defined error. A lack of precision leads directly to an AIM filled with unstructured, disorganized data, what we rightly call data junk.
It's just volume without value.
Exactly. Volume without value, and it becomes a long-term liability.
So the solution is making the AIR so precise that it dictates not just what is collected, but how the final AIM is fundamentally structured.
That's it. A precise AIR directly dictates the output of the AIM by determining its content, its structure, and the methodology of its delivery. A good AIR ensures the appointing party gets data that follows 3 critical principles.
Okay, what are they? Walk us through them.
First, the data must be relevant. This means only information that actively supports decision-making is requested. No fluff, no unnecessary detail. Second, it must be structured. Delivered in a machine-readable format, using open standards like COBE or IFC. This allows for automated processing without someone having to manually translate it. And third, it must be timely. It's delivered in response to specific trigger events in the asset's lifecycle, like a system replacement or a capital improvement project.
It sounds like these ARI requirements need to be integrated long before the asset is actually handed over.
Oh, they absolutely must be. The operational requirements in the AR are what inform the project information requirements, or PIR, used by the delivery teams. This ensures the project information model, the PM, that's built during design and construction, already contains all the necessary operational data.
So if the AR asks for a maintenance schedule for a boiler,
Then the PM has to capture that data during the build phase. That necessary data is then formally transferred and verified before it populates the M, which is the ultimate repository for daily asset management.
let's use the analogy from our source material here. I think it really clarifies these roles, especially for commercial teams who might not be living in the BIM models every day.
It's a great one. Think of the whole process like managing a complex kitchen. The AR is your detailed instruction manual. It's the shopping list and the specific dietary requirements you give to a personal chef. It specifies exactly what ingredients you need, where they should be stored, and how they should be prepped for immediate use.
And the AM then becomes the fully stocked pantry and the prepared meals, all meticulously organized exactly as you requested. This setup allows you, the asset owner, to manage your day-to-day needs efficiently. If your shopping list, your AR was vague, you just end up with a pantry full of random ingredients you can't use, which is just costly.
And that leads directly to the core commercial risk management tool in the AR, defining the level of information need, or LOI.
Right.
This framework is absolutely essential for preventing two major commercial risks that just erode operational budgets.
And those would be the notorious infobesity and underdelivery.
Precisely. Overdelivery, or infobesity, is creating excessive, unneeded detail. It wastes project budget and manpower from the supply chain, inflating the handover cost. But underdelivery is the far greater operational risk, not having the necessary data like a pump's critical safety limits when something fails. The LOIN framework strictly defines the quality, quantity, and granularity of both the graphical data, the geometry, and all the alphanumeric data.
So a project manager setting the loin might say a simple wall just needs to be shown graphically, but a critical pump needs its geometry, system connections, model number, and a linked safety datasheet.
That's a perfect example. The LOIN is the guardrail against both cost overruns and operational risk, and it has to be explicitly defined in the AR.
Which brings us to the crucial part of our deep dive, the comprehensive checklist. If you're the appointing party or commercial team advising them, this is your blueprint. And here's where it gets really interesting, because a comprehensive AR can't be drafted in a vacuum. It has to pull requirements from all interested parties, internal FM, finance, local authorities, safety regulators.
It's a holistic approach. We can basically organize the essential contents of the AR into three major buckets: management and technical, legal and security, and then commercial content and deliverables.
Okay, let's start with management and technical.
Right. So, first, the AR must mandate fundamental organizational and asset data. This includes unique asset identifiers, tag numbers, barcodes, specific codes that have to map directly back to the owner's own asset management system.
That mapping is so crucial for efficiency later. You don't want your FM team manually translating asset codes.
Absolutely not. The AR also has to specify spatial data, how locations, room sizes, floor levels, and critical zones like a fire alarm zone or restricted access are digitally represented.
And what about the crucial lifecycle information? Warranties, maintenance.
It has to be embedded right from the start. The AR specifies requirements for warranties, guarantee periods, and detailed maintenance schedules, including things like job frequencies and durations, which feed directly into CIFM software. On the technical side, you need engineering parameters, commissioning data, operational data like performance limits, and of course, the manufacturer, model, and serial numbers for every piece of maintainable kit.
Now let's talk standards. This is where the delivery team gets their instructions on how to organize all this data.
Yes, and the AR must be prescriptive here. It has to define the standards for structuring and classifying everything. We're talking about classification systems in accordance with ISO 12622. For the supply chain, this means specifying which scheme, uniclass, omniclass, whatever it is, must be used for every single asset.
And the specific digital formats.
Critical. The AIR has to specify required file formats and schema. The source material really emphasizes using the COBie schema for structuring alphanumeric data. This ensures it's machine-readable and ready for integration. So while your geometry might be in an IFC file, the AR ensures the operational data is standardized through COBie fields.
And it's not just the structured data, right?
No, absolutely not. The requirements have to include linked documentation, O&M manuals, data sheets, and specific technical data points like airflow rates or voltage requirements. And again, the AI needs to be specified for every single information container.
Okay, moving to that second bucket, legal and security content. This is where the AR really addresses some serious commercial liabilities.
For legal clarity, the AR must include requirements for data ownership, who owns the IP, and use rights for the model. And critically, it has to define maintenance demarcation, clarifying who is responsible where complex systems meet.
And security, which is governed by ISO 19655.
Correct. The AR is the document that formally reflects the outcome of the mandatory security triage. It identifies sensitive information and sets strict policies for its creation, storage, and destruction. A key requirement the AR must specify here is data segregation.
What does that mean in practice?
It means requiring sensitive data like detailed schematics of security systems or critical power infrastructure to be kept in separate, restricted containers or even redacted from general views within the A.
We also need to loop in safety, covered by ISO 19656, which is all about the health and safety info needed for the operational phase.
Exactly. The AR is the formal mechanism for ensuring that essential health and safety data gets captured during design and construction. It has to request data on safety-critical zones, hazardous materials, and the specific risks associated with maintenance tasks, like working at height.
It prevents injuries and reduces owner liability down the line.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, finally, let's look at the commercial content and deliverables. This ensures the data has direct financial relevance.
It does. The AR must mandate the delivery of comprehensive commercial and financial data. We're talking whole life costs, operating costs, current asset replacement values, which commercial directors need for insurance and forecasting, and original purchase costs. You also need vendor details, asset lead times, spare parts, inventory lists. This information is vital for delivering on those strategic OIR goals we started with.
And how does the commercial team make sure that the data actually arrives at the right time for handover?
The delivery mechanism has to be explicitly tied to handover schedules through the exchange information requirements, the EIRs. And those deliveries are triggered by specific events, project milestones, basically. The AR defines the need, the EIR defines the contractual delivery schedule.
Okay, and the absolute final checkpoint, acceptance, the moment of truth. What must the appointing party check before formally accepting the information model?
This relies on strict acceptance criteria, often referencing ISO 19654. When reviewing the models, the appointing party must check 4 critical Cs. First, CDE compliance, checking that file names and metadata are all correct. Second, conformance, making sure it adheres to the chosen schema like IFC or COBie. Third, consistency, ensuring the data is free of contradictions. The asset register can't say a system was commissioned in 2023 if the documentation shows a 2018 installation.
That consistency check is where so many projects fall down.
It's where you find the errors hidden beneath the surface. And the fourth and most critical item is completeness. The model must contain every single attribute, link, and document specified in the original AIR. If it's incomplete, the delivery should be formally rejected until the gaps are closed.
This entire deep dive just reinforces that the asset information requirement isn't just a compliance document. It's the governing spec that guarantees data usability and commercial viability across the entire asset lifecycle.
It's the highest leverage point an appointing party has. And if we connect this to the bigger picture, a good AIR is what transforms raw project data into a valuable verified asset, a tool that dramatically reduces long-term operational costs and mitigates risk for decades.
A well-written, comprehensive AR is clearly the foundational blueprint for success. But knowing it underpins multi-decade asset management and must be updated in response to trigger events, we leave you with this final provocative thought. Given the speed of technological change and evolving regulations, how often should an appointing party formally review and update its foundational AR document to ensure it remains aligned with future organizational strategy and technology? Something for you to mull over. Thanks for tuning into our deep dive.